A very good morning from Warsaw, Poland. You're watching World News and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. Russian President Vladimir Putin said he's open to the alleged suggestion from Bratislava that Slovakia could play host to peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. Putin went on to say the solution would be acceptable for his country, as in his opinion, Slovakia has a neutral position. Putin's words come after a recent surprise visit of Prime Minister Robert Fico to the Kremlin, which made the Slovakian official only the third EU leader to have met with the Russian president since the beginning of the Russian invasion. But President Zelenskyy seems unlikely to agree to the venue, as he accused Fico of having a shadowy agreement with Putin. Slovakia and Ukraine have been at odds after President Zelenskyy announced he wouldn't allow for the extension of a gas transit deal that supplied Slovakia with Russian gas through Ukrainian territory. NATO has said it is ready to provide assistance to Estonia and Finland, which have launched a probe into the failure of an undersea cable on Thursday. A Russian tanker is suspected of causing the damage, which could take months to repair. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte took to social media to reaffirm solidarity with Estonia and Finland following talks with the Estonian Prime Minister Kristen Michal. Two Finnish fiber optic cables in the Baltic Sea were severed, while a third link owned by China was damaged. A fourth cable running from Finland to Germany also sustained damage. Following the outages, a foreign oil tanker reportedly belonging to Russia's Shadow Fleet was escorted by the Finnish border guard to Finnish waters. Now the European Union is planning new sanctions on the Shadow Fleet, with bloc officials say that only fuels Russia war chest. The Azerbaijan Airlines plane that went down in Kazakhstan, killing 38 people, was shot down by Russian air defenses, Azerbaijani officials have told Reuters. The claim, however, has not yet been confirmed by Kazakhstan, where investigators are still looking into the case, interviewing eyewitnesses, reviewing radio traffic, and combing the crash site. Former Pentagon senior advisor on international security Anne-Marie Daly has said the impact from Russian missiles seems the most plausible cause of the crash.
I think there's a high probability that what the government of Azerbaijan has concluded is what happened, that being that a Russian air defense system misidentified the plane because the plane had been rerouted, and that they engaged it with air defense systems because there have been attacks from that direction by Ukrainian unmanned systems, and so they probably mistook the passenger jet for a Ukrainian unmanned system and engaged it with air defenses.
Over the past month, Washington has announced several new military aid packages as the White House prepares for Donald Trump to take over the Oval Office. In his nightly address, Ukraine's President Zelenskyy thanked the Biden administration for continued support.
It is very important that the United States is now ramping up supplies. This is necessary to level the playing field. I am grateful to our partners, and the pace of supply should be such that it slows down the pace of Russian assaults. We need greater military strength and a strong position for diplomacy. Every unit, every brigade that ensures this brings us closer to the possibility of normal peace. I would also like to recognize all our soldiers who are carrying out long-range strikes on the territory of Russia, and we have the right to make them as they destroy the enemy's military infrastructure, and only that. Ukraine is defending itself against aggression, and our strikes are aimed exclusively at military targets. The Armed Forces of Ukraine, the Security Service of Ukraine, the main intelligence directorate, external intelligence, I thank you all for your accuracy, and to everyone involved with the effort.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has criticized his Hungarian counterpart, Viktor Orban, for calling Russian leader Vladimir Putin a fair partner amidst massive Russian airstrikes in Ukraine. Tusk's criticism comes at a time of a major diplomatic dispute between Poland and Hungary over an unprecedented political asylum case.
Christmas is usually a time of peace, but here in Ukraine, Russian troops took it as an opportunity to launch massive strikes across the country. While Ukrainian civilians and soldiers were getting bombarded, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban bragged about his diplomatic relations on Christmas Eve.
The president of Turkey is our friend. The President of Russia is our fair partner, and the Prime Minister of Israel is our good friend.
Among Orban's list of diplomatic partners, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk was nowhere to be seen. The relations between Budapest and Warsaw have recently been at a historic low, and the Polish leader has made that very clear on his social media.
On Christmas Eve, Russia carried out a massive missile attack on Ukrainian cities. At that time, in a Christmas interview, Prime Minister Orban called Putin a fair partner of the Hungarians. And Minister Romanovsky repeated the patiently learned wishes of that day. Bolgot Karatsonit, Merry Christmas.
Polish former Deputy Minister of Justice Marcin Romanowski is being sheltered by the Hungarians after being charged in Poland with embezzling more than 50 million euro of public funds. The political asylum for Romanowski, who is wanted by a European arrest warrant, has put Polish-Hungarian relations into a diplomatic freeze. And it hasn't done any favors to Orban's position in the EU either.
Such an anti-Polish statement that Orban did, I believe there's more countries that were somewhere sitting on the line between Hungary and the rest of the club right now are moving towards the Polish camp rather than a Hungarian one, including the Slovak one.
Viktor Orban's latest comment on Putin couldn't have been timed worse. Just last week, the Hungarian leader proposed a Christmas ceasefire in Ukraine.
It's a very simple human plan. Just don't let thousands of young guys to die at Christmas time. That's so simple.
But on Christmas Day, Ukrainian singers had to sing Christmas carols to their wounded soldiers after massive airstrikes from Hungary's fair partner.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau finally reacted to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's provocative comments about Canada. In a post on social media, Trudeau referenced a 6-minute documentary explaining U.S.-Canada ties. In a short and simple post, Trudeau made his first direct response to Trump's remarks on Canada. Attached to the message is a clip narrated by American journalist Tom Brokaw, which gives an overview of Canada's politics and major moments in history. The post comes in response to Trump's series of taunting remarks directed at the Prime Minister, often referring to him as a governor and to Canada as the United States' 51st state. The incoming U.S. president's comments were not received well by U.S.-Canada experts, who have referred to them as immature and unserious. The first such remarks immediately followed Trump's meeting with Trudeau at Mar-a-Lago in late November. On Thursday, South Korea's main opposition Democratic Party filed for a motion to impeach acting President Han Duck-soo. The impeachment threat comes after Han's refusal to fill the vacancies of the Constitutional Court. This key decision-making body will make the final ruling on the previously impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol. Aisha Baji has more.
Prime Minister Han Duck-soo was appointed acting president after his predecessor Yoon Suk-yeol was impeached. Now he too faces the same fate.
An impeachment motion against Prime Minister Han Duck-soo was proposed by 170 people. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo officially announced that he would not appoint a constitutional court judge, which is his constitutional duty. His statement effectively acknowledges himself not as an acting figure of authority, but as an acting authority of treason.
South Korea's main opposition Democratic Party will hold a vote on Friday to impeach Han after he refused to fill 3 vacancies in the Constitutional Court. The court has the final say in President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment decision.
Constitutional institutions' normal operation is the way to resolve uncertainty in the country, and only 9 judges' system will be able to make any decisions, whether it's passed or not, and minimize political and social confusion after the impeachment trial.
The court normally consists of 9 judges, however, only 6 judges are on the bench right now due to an appointment delay. The court requires at least 6 votes to uphold his predecessor Yoon's impeachment, meaning that a single dissenting vote could reinstate Yoon in office.
The Democratic Party's deluge and tsunami of impeachments have now gone beyond paralyzing the government to completely devastating state affairs.
While Parliament approved 3 nominees on Thursday, Han didn't formally appoint them. Earlier, the opposition Democratic Party had threatened to file for his impeachment if he didn't immediately fill the vacancies.
The National Assembly's process for the appointment of Constitutional Court judges has been completed. Acting President, please finish appointment process without delay.
Acting President Han Duck-soo's impeachment risks deepening the political crisis in South Korea.
Following the fall of the Assad regime in Syria, Russia lost one of its closest allies in the Middle East. New reports indicate that Moscow has sent its S-300 and S-400 air defense systems previously stationed in the country to Libya.
With the bottom of his shoe, the Syrian rebel waved goodbye to Russia's military based in Syria. A gesture of disrespect in the Middle East that former American President George W. Bush once experienced firsthand in Iraq. Yet despite the symbolism, Russia's military bases remain in Syria. However, reports now reveal its S-300 and S-400 air defense systems have been relocated to Libya. I spoke with Libyan journalist Abdul Qadir Assad, one of the first to report on this development, who shared his intel.
From the beginning of the fall of Assad regime in Syria, reports started coming out about the Russian movements transferring some of their military equipment from their base in Latakia and Tartus in Syria to Libya, and of course to eastern Libya under the rule of Khalifa Haftar, who is Moscow's ally in Libya.
General Khalifa Haftar, just mentioned, leads a de facto government that is friendly with Moscow, based in Benghazi and Tobruk in eastern Libya. Meanwhile, in Tripoli sits the United Nations recognized government, backed by NATO's Turkey and led by this man, Abdul Hamid al-Dabaiba, who was quick to respond to the news of the Russians fleeing Syria to his country.
We will not allow for our lands to become a refugee to members of militant groups escaping other countries to ours, and Libya will not be used as a pressure card in negotiation tables in any international matters.
If Libyans clearly oppose Russia's presence, then what drives its interest in the North African country?
Russia is interested in making the African corps in Africa, and the gate to Africa is pretty much Libya. So if you're talking about transferring military equipment from Syria to Libya and then from Libya to other African countries like Chad and Mali and Sub-Sahara.
Back in Syria, this footage of an Ilyushin Il-76 airplane was taken a week after the fall of al-Assad. This plane has the ability to carry heavy military equipment such as the S-300 and S-400 air defense systems.
Operation Phoenix, the Polish Armed Forces mission to help rebuild southwestern Poland in the wake of September's flood, has been partially paused for Christmas. After the holidays, troops will return to flood-affected areas to continue their work. Recently, the Polish Ministry of Defense extended Operation Phoenix by several more months.
They deploy wherever there's still work to do. They renovate flooded buildings, build temporary bridges, and help the local population.
They assist in households, helped us clear the streets and remove all the debris left over after the flood. It's a thankless job, but invaluable for the locals.
The soldiers have helped distribute Christmas packages to flood victims.
We have brave soldiers here helping to unload and distribute all this donated aid.
Christmas is a special time of the year, even for the soldiers. After over 3 months of tireless effort, Operation Phoenix is now on hold for the holidays. Troops involved with the operation were invited to a holiday celebration before returning home to reunite with their families.
The majority of the soldiers are returning home for Christmas, but our efforts are far from over. We're just on break from December 23rd to January 8th. Some soldiers are staying, including those managing street lighting in Stronie Śląskie, supervising light poles, oversee fuel levels and distribution, and protect equipment set to be put to use soon.
The soldiers deployed to help the residents on day 1 of the flood. Their commanders proudly say that the army made significant contributions to reducing the fallout of the disaster, as the high floodwaters directly threatened big cities further upstream.
We managed to save cities like Wrocław, Opole and Nysa. These are key cities for Lower Silesia and the Opole region. But above all, we managed to gain the trust of the local communities.
The scale of Operation Phoenix speaks for itself. At its peak, 26,000 soldiers were involved.
26,000 troops is more than some of neighbors have in their whole armed forces. No non-military operation launched in the past couple of decades by our army has seen that many soldiers deployed.
But the mission is far from complete.
Operation Phoenix was scheduled to end this year, but was extended through end of April 2025, and the troops will remain deployed in these areas as long as it's necessary.
3 months after the flood, the sheer scale of the devastation is still shocking. Just like the mythical phoenix that rose from the ashes, the flood-affected communities are hoping to rise from the rubble and ruin brought by the raging waters.
And so this would be all the latest news for now, but please do stay tuned here on TVP World, as we'll be back with more news and features in just a moment.